Divorce. My wife, 34F, feels entitled to my 38M money. A couple years ago I, 38M and my wife, 34F started living apart. Partly I moved for career reasons, but we were also considering divorce. Eventually we decided we would indeed get divorced, and we will be filing soon. Sometime after we started living apart, I started a new career and got a much higher paying job. Like 8 times as much as I was making previously. My wife has her own career and will be fine, but she makes a lot less than I do now. The conflict here is that my wife seems to feel very entitled to my money. I do want to leave her in a financially secure position. I have paid some of her bills, and I've been sending her a modest amount of money each month. I'm also in the process of paying off all our old debt, see below. She seems completely unappreciative about any of this and wants more. Something she doesn't seem to understand, although I've tried to explain, is that I'm not exactly rich right now. I do have a very high income, but we had a lot of debt from our earlier years, and I've been paying that. I'm basically living like a broke college student and paying down debt. It's not like I'm living in luxury or something. Factor that makes her attitude particularly galling is that she's already engaged to someone else. Although it's a little disconcerting how quickly this happened, I don't really see it as a betrayal. We were very frank about the fact that we could each date other people when we decided to divorce. However, it just feels absurd that for some reason she expects me to fund her life with someone else. Obviously there are legal issues here that I don't expect this subreddit to address. But I'm looking for advice about how to talk to her about this. I wouldn't have previously thought of my wife as greedy or entitled, but that sure is how she seems now. I feel like other than this issue we could easily remain on good terms. No kids involved. Not a lawyer, but maybe paying the debt as part of the divorce agreement is better. If you pay it all off now, before the process is initiated, then there's no debt to be shared equally during the divorce. There's no point trying to agree with her, especially if you don't have children and thus will not need to see her ever again. She clearly wants as much as possible out of you, so let the lawyers deal with it. I feel like other than this issue we could easily remain on good terms. She clearly feels differently. You were both considering divorce for a reason. So you need to decide what's important to you, keeping your money or staying on good terms. Why is it so important to you to stay on good terms with her anyway? You're living apart. Seems like you've moved further away. You're living separate lives. I'm not saying you have to turn nasty, but staying on good terms means both people have to want that, and she is apparently keener on your money than your goodwill. Regardless, this is what lawyers are for. You can tell her no. You can tell her that your career post-separation has nothing to do with her, but ultimately it'll come down to what lawyers hammer out. I'm also pretty sure that when she gets remarried, any form of spousal support or similar stops being your responsibility anyway. She doesn't have to understand your circumstances. Decide what's reasonable by your standards. She can like it, not like it, doesn't matter. All of this should be going through lawyers. I'm not one. But I wonder if you've painted yourself into a corner by handing over money and paying off debts already. I feel like other than this issue we could easily remain on good terms. Shit, I'd be on good terms with an ex too if all they did was send me money every month. Your obligations to your wife will depend largely on the state in which you live. Some states have community property laws, meaning everything earned during the marriage belongs to both spouses, unless received through gift, devise, or descent. It is a good idea to start the divorce process before paying off all your debt. This could be seen as a gift to the community. Also, you may take some of the debt to avoid alimony if your state grants alimony. You'd also want to ensure the court knows you've been living apart. The fact that you were living apart before you began earning more is a fact the court may consider in property distribution. Lastly, if you continue to contribute to her financially, it could be interpreted as a necessity for her to maintain her lifestyle. Depending on where you live, this could result in you having to continue to provide for her, even after the divorce. Talk to a lawyer. Allow your lawyers to do their jobs and let them inform her that she is not. Do not discuss this with her at all, or you might end up promising something you later regret. Let's hope it doesn't take a court to inform her that she is not. my boyfriend called me a porn star. And all because I was wearing langet tights under my skirt. I don't know if in his head it's meant as a compliment or if he was trying to insult me. But why just not say I loom good or sexy? The reason this kind of bothers me is because my boyfriend has a bit of a weird view on sex. There are certain sexual acts he won't do with me because he loves me and respects me too much, but if it was a random girl he wouldn't mind. So he's definitely got an old-fashioned view on all of this, which means calling me a porn star seems weird. Look up the Madonna whore complex, he's displaying it perfectly and it's a massive red flag. The whole bit about him not doing things with you because he loves/respects you, but he has no problem doing those same things with other women he is sleeping with but doesn't respect, strikes me as the part that is off. Does he have a Madonna/WH complex? Yep, not a good sign. To him, there are good girls that you marry and have vanilla sex with and have babies. And there are the bad girls you do all the kinky stuff with. That's just a backwards, misogynistic view and not good for a healthy relationship, because eventually he'll cheat with the bad girls. There are certain sexual acts he won't do with me because he loves me and respects me too much, but if it was a random girl he wouldn't mind. This is the bigger issue here. Acts between consenting enthusiastic adults are not disrespectful. So following your logic, if you are now the porn star, then who became the girlfriend? Do your boyfriend's old-fashioned views mean that he thinks less of women he's had sex with in the past, just because they did sexual acts he was into? Does this mean he will cheat on you to get his disrespectful needs met elsewhere when he's horny for it? Op, you have a problem. Him calling you a porn star is not really an issue by itself. The fact that he's the kind of man who would consider that an insult is what should bother you. My mom won't let me stay with here unless I abide by her insane rules and sign a contract. So for context, I'm 20 and my mom is 50. My parents got divorced a year ago right before COVID, and I've been living with my dad and brother. To be honest, my mom was quite emotionally abusive before, but I didn't realize it was abnormal/unhealthy until my dad finally stood up for our whole family. She has gotten a bit healthier, and being her adult child who comes to visit occasionally on the weekend is a much better dynamic for us. But recently I got a job literally 10 minutes from her house. My dad's house is an hour away, so I talked to my mom about living with her for a short period of time, 1 to 2 months. I would want a couple months to save and find an apartment. It is a huge priority for me to move out and be on my own. So we discussed me living with her and she seemed on board. She is aware of all of my job stuff and knows I want to only stay here for a little, save, find a roommate, and move out. But recently she let me know that I would be needing to sign a contract in order to live with her, and that every item on the list is non-negotiable. I was already turned off to this idea simply because it was a contract and that feels super weird for a family relationship. But she's been doing things like that my whole life, so I'm used to it. But today we went over all of her contract items. They were all pretty insane and not reasonable. For example, she wants me to give her the username and password to my savings account, so she knows I am actually saving. I'm not worried she would steal from me, she just needs to control it. My curfew would be 8:30 p.m. on weekdays, 10 p.m. on weekends. No friends are allowed to come over when she's not here. I am not allowed to date in any capacity. Basically, her whole thing is she wants to make sure I am working and saving. And these rules are for her sanity. Obviously, I am completely unwilling to abide by these rules, so she said I am not allowed to stay with her. She has every right to do that, but I feel undervalued as a human and treated like a child she wants to have ultimate control over. Apparently multiple people in her life, her friends are very like-minded, to say the least, agreed that this was a good list, and it is non-negotiable to her. Now my only way to take this job is if my dad pays for my security deposit/initial fees of an apartment, which I feel so bad for. It's not his responsibility and he has already sacrificed so much for me, but he completely understands and has offered to do so. I am just so upset. I'm staying the night at her house, but I really just want to go home now. Also, I found out she recorded our conversation without telling helping me. It played in the car on the way to the grocery store and she acted like it was no big deal. I don't know what to do. I'm considering going back to my dad's right now, but she will be all weird about it. Any thoughts on how to handle this situation would be so helpful. I'd leave now and go home to your dad. Accept his help with the security deposits and pay him back if you are able, or just remember this when he's older and needs your support. Parents are happy to care for their kids. Let your dad help you get your own place without mom. Don't worry that your mom is weird about it, your mom is weird. When this transition phase is over and you have the job and your own place, you can pay your father back if you want. Also, when both of your parents are old and need you, remember which one had conditions. Help dad because you love him. Help mom because she signed your contract, which all of your friends agreed with. For example, she wants me to give her the username and password to my savings account, so she knows I am actually saving. I'm not worried she would steal from me, she just needs to control it. She will steal from you, for your own good. Editor as you/starter unlocked said, as rent. Now my only way to take this job is if my dad pays for my security deposit/initial fees of an apartment which I feel so bad for, or travel that extra hour each way. It'd suck a lot, not going to lie. But it would appease your guilt and keep you out of your mom's clutches. It's not even that bad. I traveled an hour train trip each way for years.